Gypsy Picking Shortcuts. I'm Nolan, and in this series of videos I'm answering your questions on playing gypsy jazz guitar, and I've been getting a lot of questions about gypsy picking. One, for example, from Tom Kimble, and he's having trouble with getting it right with gypsy picking. So I want to show you how I do it and perhaps help you out with your gypsy picking. And just to acknowledge the fact that, you know, gypsy picking is the technique which Django Reinhardt used and the gypsies use and a lot of guys use. And it's a discipline, it's a right-hand discipline where basically every time you change a string, you use a downstroke. So the pick falls to the next string. Even coming back up, you use a downstroke. And there's a whole strict orthodox technique to this. And some guys can get it, some guys don't. For example, myself, you know, I've never even thought about the way I picked, and I definitely don't use gypsy picking all the time, sometimes. So if you're having a problem with it, then you should stick around and I'll show you the kind of things that I'm doing to, you know, get shortcuts to get the sound and to sound authentic in gypsy jazz without using, you know, without thinking about gypsy picking. Just to start, one simple rule: if you can play a downstroke, play a downstroke. So for example, if I'm playing Nuages, I'm going to use downstrokes for all those notes because I can, you know. If I'm going to play or a fast phrase, obviously I'm not going to always use downstrokes. So to get the kind of tone and the kind of momentum in this music, if you can use a downstroke, use a downstroke. If you can use a gypsy picking stroke, a rest stroke, then use a rest stroke. So a rest stroke is where you, if I'm going to play this G here, the 8th fret on the B string, I'm going to play the G and I'm going to let the pick fall on the top E string. So I play the G, I don't play the G out like that, but I play the G and the pick is now resting on the top E string. That's a rest stroke. And, you know, for example, it comes in real handy if you're playing something like an A minor arpeggio, and instead of going picking each note like that or alternate picking, you're obviously going to go let the pick, use gravity, let the pick fall through each note. So that is gypsy picking, you know. And in that example, you know, it really helps me out. I'll play you a couple of phrases and just see what my hand does. I'm not even sure what it does, but you know, some of my phrases be something like this. So that's not gypsy picking because I'm going, so I'm using an upstroke there. So what I'm trying to say basically is that if you're, you know, kind of worried about this or worried about not being authentic when you're playing, don't worry, you know, worry more about the music, because probably you haven't got like 8 hours in a day to study this technique and make sure that you get it right. I never did, and I was more interested in actually playing the music, playing the songs, having fun, getting out there and playing. So I was just doing whatever I could to make it sound good. And so, you know, basic rule, if you can use a downstroke, use a downstroke. If you can use a rest stroke, then use a rest stroke. But if you can't, then big deal, you know, just play the music, make it sound cool. I'll show you one other lick. So this lick was definitely, you know, that's obviously like a kind of sweep, a downstroke, gypsy picking way of playing those 4 notes. This phrase comes really in handy. Say you're in G major and you're going to go like in Lady Be Good. So if it's going along in G major, a good phrase to do is this phrase. So it's starting with an up, up, down, up, down. And this is also something which I find useful for kind of, you know, if I'm warming up or if I want to kind of make sure my right hand's not too jittery or feathery, or, you know, try and get the confidence in it. I kind of do this exercise, kind of go. And also you can notice there, by the by, I'm using 2 fingers there to get up to that, from the B to the D, up, down, up, down. And that kind of phrase can kind of clear out any cobwebs with your right hand picking as well, you know. That sounds kind of cool. But I'll keep this video short. The basic message is don't worry too much about gypsy picking. if you are studying it, you've got a book, or you're really taking it seriously, then great. If you're making inroads and you can do it, great. If it's kind of stopping you, getting in the way of actually playing music, then take a step back and just think it's not the end, be all or end all of this music to play gypsy picking. Okay, so that's the message. Somehow I managed to play guitar all around the world and play gigs that people like by just using this kind of picking. So if it works for me, it can definitely work for you. If you got a question you want to ask me about gypsy jazz guitar, then just fire away. I'd love to hear it. And if you want some more lessons and some really cool stuff on gypsy jazz, then go to gypsyjazzsecrets.com. It's waiting for you. It's really good stuff. So thanks for watching the video. I'll see you really soon.